How to survive while parenting a toddler. How did we survive while parenting? What is a toddler? Am I a toddler?
Is it from the time they toddle?
I think that's how you know. Once the toddling has begun.
And we all know about the terrible twos, and then there's the three-nager stage, and then when they are teenagers, they kind of go back to some toddler behavior, but we're not talking about that yet.
I'm scared. Mended light. All right, so how did we've done this 5 times together.
5 times.
How did we pull this off?
How did we survive? Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like we've talked about in a lot of our videos, you have these different personalities melding together to become a beautiful family. Mm-hmm. And what's going on developmentally for a toddler is they are moving out of baby stage, mm-hmm. and they are recognizing like, oh, there's a world around me, there's people around me, and how do I show up and how do I interact and what are my boundaries, right?
Well, and developmentally, I have thoughts. I can assert myself. I
Right.
have wants. And when I'm an infant, everyone exists just to cater to my thoughts and whims because they don't want me to shriek.
Right.
And because they want to
Well, there is no cognitive
right.
functioning.
Like, so you, as an adult, you just kind of have to take care of an infant and do whatever they want
Right.
because there's no telling them, hey, there's no reasoning with an infant. With a toddler, you start to get a little bit of cognitive ability where you can start
Right.
to draw boundaries because there's understanding there. There's
Right.
language there that they can grasp, and they don't like it.
Well, I wouldn't go as far to say they don't like it,
I would.
but they are expressing their needs and wants and figuring out where the boundaries are
Mm-hmm.
in their life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have their personalities are very much so showing.
Yeah.
And
Quick disclaimer. All 5 of our children have very strong personalities. A lot of you watching, that is the case. If you have a child who is more meek and submissive, that must be nice. We can't speak from that area of experience. We can only speak from people who showed up very opinionated and very strong-willed and wanting to tell us how high. I didn't mean to.
No.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did
we
need to
got
clarify.
stories.
This is where we're
Stories.
coming from.
Yeah. So couple toddler stories, because why not story time, to give you an understanding of like personality types, right? And I would say like we're decent parents, right?
Yeah.
Pretty well aware of our own development and
we
children's needs.
we try to self-correct.
Right. So, decent parents.
Yeah.
Right? So my oldest son, at 18 months old, he was, walking and talking full sentences, conversations. He climbed out of his crib and went out the front door and walked 3 doors up to his friend's house, because what 18-month-old doesn't take themselves to their friend's house? Yes, he knew exactly where his friend's house is. Same child, a month later, I walk into the kitchen and he's making himself toast. And to his credit, he didn't really make a mess. And this wasn't even like with a pop-up toaster. Like it was a toaster oven where you pulled down the handle and you put the toast in and then you start it and then you take it out. And he was happily eating his toast. And I'm like, he's going to survive. This is going to be okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like he thought he was an adult. Like he didn't see himself as a child. He literally like saw himself as...
He did not appreciate adults giving him rules or boundaries or expectations.
As a peer.
Yeah.
And so
he expected to be treated as a peer.
He expected to be treated as a peer. That's the way he saw himself. And so, meeting your child wherever they're at with their personality and their needs, while balancing the needs of the other members of the family and even yourself as a parent, right? Because I think generationally, go back a couple generations, and the perspective was children should be seen and not heard, right? Children were expected to fit into an adult's world, and they had no autonomy, and they were kind of seen as a possession. And I feel like the pendulum overall has swung too far to the other side, where it's all about the child, it's all about their needs. If 2 adults are having a conversation and a child walks in the room, then the focus then becomes the child.
Well, and I think by and large, we underestimate the intelligence of children and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And so we don't expect them to be considerate of the needs of the other people. And yes, I mean, the fact is, developmentally, they are learning that. They haven't learned it yet, but this is where they learn it. Otherwise, they learn entitlement.
Yeah, so in that toddler stage is where they're beginning to learn, like, oh, there's a world outside of just me, and how do I fit into that world?
Well, and the reason it's so hard, the reason we're talking about how to survive parenting toddlers, is because toddlers are all, they're all emotion. They're all drive. They're all what they want. They're all their urges, their basic instincts. And they see you as the person who's responsible for taking care of that, because they can't do it themselves. I need a sandwich, right? I want to go see my friends. I want to watch a movie now. You're the one who makes it happen. And what makes it exhausting is they haven't learned consideration. They haven't learned selflessness. They haven't learned patience. And so they just come at you with everything. And it is exhausting. And then when you have plural children, it gets even more exhausting, because then they're competing. And they're all demanding, and they're all putting their own needs first. And it's not because they're terrible, it's because they haven't learned differently. And it is our responsibility to teach them. And that's also exhausting, because there's pushback.
And the days are long, but the years are short, right? That old saying. And so here's my advice. Having survived 5 toddlers, multiple toddlers at the same time, almost always having a baby and a toddler, sometimes 2 toddlers. When the youngest was born, I had a newborn, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And we were running a business. That was fun.
That was not fun.
It's not fun.
That was.
It wasn't fun.
Those were rough years. Those were rough years.
It was really, really rough years. But you know what? There's a light at the end of the tunnel, because someday they clothe themselves and they feed themselves and they take themselves to the bathroom, and there's hope.
And now they're doing dishes again. And they're taking out garbage, and when you say the days are long but the years are short, that's something that has to be considered when raising toddlers. It's going to feel sometimes like nothing's changing, and it's going to feel sometimes like nothing's getting better, quote unquote, and that you're just as exhausted as you ever were. And that's because you're too zoomed in. Like if you're looking at it day to day, the change happens so gradually that it can feel hopeless sometimes. You have to pull back and see where you are compared to where you were a year ago, 2 years ago.
But I am not here to say to you, cherish these moments. You're going to miss them.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of how everyone says that to you, and you're like, yeah, we'll see.
I've never missed them. Haven't missed them yet. I love watching videos of when they were littler, but I don't ever want to go back. Here's some guidelines to surviving toddlers. Like, it's important to realize who you are and what you value. And I don't mean that in some like existential way. We have this image of motherhood, right? And then even like being the perfect mother and the homemaker and doing all the things and making all the things and the Pinterest birthday parties and the Pinterest house. And that's what looking like being a perfect mother is, and always being patient. Like, just don't put those kind of expectations on yourself. Recognize who you are and what it is you value. I do not value nurturing little people. That does not fulfill me. It will not ever fulfill me. It didn't fulfill me for 10 years. Yeah. And so you
love your kids.
I love my children.
But it was never like your life ambition to be, I want to be a nurturing mother and now I'm happy.
Yeah, and so I value accomplishment. I value getting things done. I value creating things that are meaningful, and children are meaningful, and I did create them.
But accomplishment and getting things done, like children are the antithesis of that. They will.
Absolutely. Children are the absolute antithesis of that, and especially babies and toddlers, right? So that was a huge growth opportunity for me, but I also needed to make space in my life for myself, right? And so recognizing like what it is you need in your life to balance parenthood at that stage, right? And so for me, that looked like a lot more time away from my children, getting out and doing things that did fulfill me. Because while I loved my children and I did all the things to take care of them in a household, it did not fulfill me.
Yeah.
And so
it didn't energize you to spend time with your children. Time away gave you the energy to be with them. And one thing I really love about you is how you look at things as growth opportunities.
It's a growth opportunity.
Right? Instead of like burdens or heavy trials or like I'm miserable, you're like, okay, this is a growth opportunity. I'm so excited to be better and to grow. And I'm honestly inspired by that.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't think our children are yet. I'm like, this is a growth opportunity. And they're like, stop saying that to me. That's the conversation I had with the
That's why they
12-year-old.
that's why they come to me for compassion. I'm like, I'm sorry, that sounds really hard. They go to mom and you're like, that sounds like a growth opportunity. They're like, bah!
I start with compassion.
You do. It's true. Well, and so how do you balance your own needs with the child's needs? I think, you talk about our first child, how he came as like a little prepackaged adult, whereas our second was very emotional and was very much a child and very much
Right.
needed to be nurtured. And if she was upset, she needed to be held and comforted. And sometimes you're balancing other things. And I remember...
For long periods of time.
Yeah, because you would always hug her, or we
Right.
would always hug her, but she'd want more than just a few minutes. She's like, let's have a big cuddle session. And so you bought her a doll. And to this day, she's 12 now, and she will still go grab a stuffed animal if she needs to be comforted. And then our third child, he needed firm boundaries and guidelines, and he needed to be roughhoused with.
Oh, yeah.
And if you try and roughhouse with our fourth child, she'll act like, you're a terrible monster. And so you have to know each child and what their needs are. And that will help them, but it'll also help you as a parent. When you try and say, this is how I'm going to parent my children, you're going to get mixed results, and it's going to add a lot to your stress level. As opposed to if you take the time to tailor your approach to each child, it's a lot better for your mental health. It's a lot
Right.
better for your, okay, I'm good now, right? For me, getting exercise, watching movies, like whatever it is for you, you shouldn't have to sacrifice who you are completely on the altar of parenthood. It looks different. You don't have as much time as you used to.
There's times and seasons.
There's times and seasons for things you want to do with your life. But if you are completely setting yourself on the back burner,
Right.
you're going to burn out as a parent, and that's not going to be good for your kids or for you. If you enjoyed this video, we want to direct you to how to talk to your kids about dating after divorce. Another big topic. Man, we're swinging for the fences.
Always.
Go us. What would you like us to talk about on our next Married to a Therapist segment? Let us know in the comments below. How do you survive parenting a toddler? Let us know in the comments below.
Thank you for joining us, and remember to keep shining. We need your light.
Oh, look, there's the video we were talking about, babe.
Oh, such a good video.
Click on it. You got to go to the bathroom? That's fine. Take your phone.